best joke? Oh,
So I always find that really hard.
Jesus, what is my best joke? Do you know what? You put me on the spot here. I forgot all the jokes.
You forgot all the jokes.
I'm here with English M.
Hello.
Thank you for your time. This
No,
is
so
a big moment for me because you are the first female to
Yes,
come onto
I like that.
my podcast. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
We're at the Curtin Hotel. Shout out to Olivier for giving us the space again, and also shout out to the crew here. Mimboso, thank you for hooking all this up. So I met you, I think, was in Mayfair at the Amanda Wakely show via Eve DeHaan.
Yes.
I'm hopefully going to get Eve on my podcast.
That's great.
She's a very cool lady and an artist, and I remember meeting you because they say, even though it sounds a very cheesy and very sort of cliche or corny, you meet people before they even say anything because of their energy, and you're very, very bubbly, very upbeat, and straight away me and you connected with my business partner Michael and we started chatting.
It's so true.
So I wanted to get you on the podcast because really, really good person to be around. Professional. You've had a bit of success in your life. You've also gone through some challenges, and I think the demographic or the listeners will get a lot of value out of it, and also a lot of lessons. So English M isn't your real name, it's your social name.
That's my Instagram handle.
Okay, so who are you? What's your background?
So my real name, my full name is Emily Warburton-Adams. I'm a London girl. I grew up in London, from London. To kind of strip it back right to the beginning. My parents divorced when I was 4 years old. I spent 6 years at boarding school and then came back to London when I was around 16.
Mm-hmm.
From the age of 14 to 20, I suffered badly from some mental health conditions, which I've now overcome. And now I'm the co-founder of a company called POW. And there's been, in the last 4 years, it's been quite a whirlwind of taking part in a TV show, working on Superyachts, taking a different path from going to university, which was my initial plan.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm, as I mentioned earlier, I'm hopefully going to be interviewing on my podcast Tim Lovejoy.
Yeah.
He's also got a very, very cool podcast, and one of the things that a couple of the audience, the demographic that listens to mine, some people haven't got the background of like TV and stuff, and they wonder how to get involved with that, and that's one of the questions I'm going to be asking Tim.
Okay.
I've actually asked him myself, and he's got his own explanation. But with you, so your handle name, English M, is because of the TV program that you had in America, or was a part of. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
So it was very spontaneous corner turn in my life when I spent a couple of years working on Superyachts. So travelled around the world.
Was that just like a job?
That was a job, quite an alternative job. I did an Atlantic crossing, very hard work. But there's a TV show that's very famous in America on Bravo TV called Below Deck. And I got, a casting director reached out to me she was LinkedIn initially, to take part in the TV show. And then I went through the casting process. I never thought that anything would come of it, and I'd be cast, but I ended up being cast, and I had to go through the it was a psychological assessment, interviews, etc. And then it was a reality show. Think of the upstairs, downstairs life on a super yacht.
Okay.
And it was 6 weeks filming back to back in the in the BVIs, which is near the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And
I'd love to go there, by the way.
It was beautiful, hard work, crazy. It's like a game. You're watched 24/7 by 11 cameramen. I grew a bit of a platform with social media from that. Instagram wasn't that big then. Then kind of the ongoing year after that, put some energy into it and just aligned with the people I wanted to align with, and made it a platform kind of advocating positivity, mental health, SDGs focused brands and things. So sustainable nutrition, so sustainability, nutrition, etc. And that's where I am now.
Cool. So last looked, you got about 70,000 followers?
Got 90.
90, sorry.
90.
Okay, cool. So
94, sorry, yeah.
I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So going back on like topic of working on super yachts, I mean, for me as a let's say a male from London, to get onto a super yacht, I mean, I'm very fortunate that I've got a few friends who are very, very successful. One of them's kind of a mentor to me. Yeah. He's also got his own yacht, and he inspired me to get into property, which I have done now. And he guides me a little bit. He's a guy called Ozzy. And I think he's got a Sunseeker actually. And it was one of the first real experiences that I went on a big yacht like that and thinking, oh my God, this is owned by one individual, how inspiring. And the guy is so nice and so down to earth. Yeah. But being a female, I mean, is that something you really experienced it deep down, or was it just a job? How did you? For me,
I mean, I embarked on that, into that industry. I always knew that I had a sell by date per se. Like I've always wanted.
Did you apply for it though? Is it something like you found a job, like you could see there was a career on super yachts and thought, I'm going to go for that, or is it just by chance?
So I mean, I'd gone through my difficult time in here in the UK. I was 20 years old and I was supposed to go to Cambridge to study psychology and politics. And I realised that it wasn't the right journey for me at the time. And I had a friend so I was doing other jobs, and I had a friend who had worked in super yachts. She said, why don't you give it a go? And I'd never thought about the back end of super yachting per se. Like, I've got friends who, go on as guests and things, and I didn't ever think about going to work on one. And I looked up, and there's a bit of investment behind going to work on board, but you have to pass some like medical assessments and do some training. So like firefighting, you have to go into a body of a plane and with a real fire and carry out dummies, like some crazy stuff. I know, which as a girl I was like, it's crazy. A month later I flew out to France, and you have to kind of apply through agencies and you get on board, and it's a lot of fun, very hard work.
What was your actual role though on the?
So I was I was doing it for 3 years. Initially I started off as a junior stewardess, and then I worked my way up to second stewardess, and I was qualified through kind of short courses, and then through the boats actually paying for me to do courses. I was a massage therapist. Oh, wow. So I did stewardess massage therapy.
Cool. So were the yachts owned by individuals, companies, institutes?
They were all individuals, managed by agencies, and so I had owners from.
Can we know any names?
I can't disclose any names.
Okay, all good.
UK, Russia, Asia, and
Okay, so I'm not going to ask for any names because that would be invading privacy. But anyone that people would probably know, like high-end people.
A few, a few. It was yes.
And the reason why I ask that is because are any of these people, were they, even though was it quite challenging or tough working for these kind of like strong-minded and very successful people? Are they really easy going?
Some of them can be, and you have to be have your wits about you. I mean, there's a lot of I got some opportunities through working on the boats, and you'd come off and you've got to be careful with people.
Yeah.
But also there was also I had mutual friends with some people who would come on the yacht and things like that, and that was sometimes a little bit difficult to be, because you'd be serving them and they were
because you're working, but they're also your friends, and you want to go through like you want to have a kind of a conversation, a bit of banter, but then you've got to remain professional, I guess.
And I mean, a lot of people, because the TV show I was on is known within the yachting industry and it would be a lot of people see it as difficult to get back into the industry once you've done the TV show. But I said yes because I knew I was ready to move on from yachting. I've always wanted to own and run my own business and come back to London at some point. And so I saw it as a good stepping stone.
Definitely. And so similar sort of question with like the people coming on board. Did you ever have to deal with any kind of snotty people who were like guests on the thing, and how did you handle that?
Yeah, there's some crazy stories. Some of them quite inappropriate, and they think, I mean, they've got a lot of money, and there's often a lot of drinking and extravagance, and they think that they can get away with more than should be allowed sometimes. And you do have to deal with a lot. You got to hold your tongue a lot as well as women. But regulations are changing, and I mean, it can differ depending on what nationality the guests are as well. I mean, I've got friends who've had to, I know, certain nationality of like guests coming on board, and they've had to crawl out the room and things like that as a protocol for. And then, I mean, I've had guests on board who had 8 wives. They rotated which wife was in their bedroom every night, and they had the mistress in a separate boat behind.
Sounds like a great nationality. No, I'm only joking.
I don't know if this is right, but we can move on to another topic now.
I'm only joking. It was just a perfect setup for me to say that. That was one of my jokes. But okay, I was just quite interested because obviously a lot of money on the super yacht, kind of the different kind of guests, and just quite an interesting topic. So when you was on the TV show then, I don't really watch too many of the reality TV stuff.
I've never watched it in my life.
But you know, like you got Made in Chelsea and all these other ones. Is it partly scripted, or is it just freestyle? Are you just literally working and then you know they're filming you?
I mean, I was quite, because I was in the industry. I would say I was quite naive when I went onto the show, and I was 21 and quite young, and they said the show's entertainment is number one, the show's number one job, and then yachting is job number 2. And I went on and I couldn't get my head around that, and so I'd acted as if it was complete work, and it was. You're working as if you were running a normal boat, but you have to be careful, and they do sometimes try and push you into certain scenarios, but I, luckily for myself, I think, fit into a storyline that was right for them. I had a romance, and
but with one of the other crew members.
Yeah, so I had
I don't know any of this. I'm just coming into.
That was the main storyline for me.
Wicked.
So I had a relation, and then we continued for a year afterwards, and went around America with him, etc.
Was he American or English?
He was originally from England, but he has lived in America for 15 years.
Nice.
So I fit into that storyline for them. So I wasn't pushed into really making any other drama. So it's mainly not scripted because they have enough content for it to not be scripted.
Right.
And I mean, I can go by saying any of the boats I've worked on, there could have been a TV show made from any. It almost had to be made more tame, if anything, because crazy things happen on. I mean, you put 13 adults on board in a confined space for 6 weeks, and things are going to happen.
Of course they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you use that as a way to exit that industry.
Yeah.
Even I mean, again, you must have travelled the world doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I travelled to a lot of places. I wouldn't say the world, but there were opportunities to go around the world. But I did, all the way around Europe, and then Turkey, Greece, Corinth Canal, Atlantic crossing, Caribbean, some of the Americas. I mean, I've got friends now who go off to the Galapagos and Alaska, and there were lots of opportunities, but I didn't do too much. But
okay.
Yeah.
And on the note of just travelling, then, how important do you feel travelling is? Because we were just talking before we started filming, and mentioned my son, Mason. He's only like 4 and a bit weeks old now. And one of the things I'm definitely going to promote to him is definitely get travelling done as young as you can, really. And if you can work at the same time, you get that great life experience.
Yeah.
How would you support that?
I mean, I think traveling is like very, very valuable and important. For me, the opportunity to travel whilst working, yachting even, really, I mean, after what I went through in my like late teenage years and things, it changed me as a person, and it enabled me to really like see a lot of the world, and I think it feeds the soul. You really learn a lot about yourself and other people. You meet people, you build new relationships, and I think that experience is so important.
Yeah. My background is mostly in sales. I think any business you get into, there's a core part of it which is selling anyway, whether it's direct or indirect. And I feel that the way you build up rapport with someone is by being well travelled. If you can read, if you can train, if you can get yourself stuck into a few different things, you build up that credibility and that rapport and validation. You can hold a conversation with people. And going travelling and looking at different cultures and going through different experiences is absolutely key in my opinion. So. And you got to do that, be on TV, build up yourself. Yeah. So with this following then, we talk about social media being a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because you can advertise yourself and brand yourself. Yeah. I just saw even an article which we posted on Minbos, I think Sam did yesterday, about Kylie Jenner. Yeah. Turning herself into self-made billionaire, the youngest one ever in history, which is wicked, like very inspiring. And a massive part of that is going to be down to a social presence. So for you, how's it impacted your life having a bit of a nearly 100? I mean, that's a lot. 100,000 people following you.
I mean,
you couldn't get 100,000 in this room.
It's quite great to think that. I mean, I'd say I've always wanted to be, because it is valuable. I like using Instagram and social media. I see it as quite a gift, and I love all my followers, and they have been through what I've been through at different points over the past couple of years. They've been so incredibly supportive, and I have built relations through social platforms. And I think it's a really important tool and a really good way to create impact and spread awareness and share messages that need to be shared in the right way. And it's changed, the way the media work as well, because influencers is such a big tool now. But I know the downsides from it. For me, it's I've always wanted to be one of those people. If Instagram wasn't here tomorrow, then I would be able to carry on with life. I've got backing and I do other things, because a lot of people rely solely on that. And I don't think that should be the right way forward, because it isn't reality. It's a percentage of that, and it is a highlight reel. As much as people can share like the downs, the ups and the downs, it's still never going to be totally authentic. No. But it can be used to impact and share the messages that help yourself and others. Yeah. Through my recent death, it's been very cathartic, and I have had lots of messages saying it's helped others as well in sharing that. And then through sharing my mental health story and things, that's really, again, it's been a stepping stone in my recovery, and it's helped a lot of other people as well. It does have a lot of positives there. Yeah.
Thankfully, I knew you before I saw your account, and obviously I know you now. And one thing I can definitely honestly say is, who I see on social to who I see now and speak to is exactly the same person.
I like that.
Which I think is the way it should be. But unfortunately, I think everyone's sometimes accountable of only posting the things that display the best side of you. But I think it's important to be authentic, use it in the right way, but also not get too distracted, because I see even people at even my work, like sales guys, they want to jump on it, and they sometimes kid themselves about, I'm trying to do work, but really they're getting pulled into this world, and they're on it for an hour, 2 hours, and it kind of can ruin the day. So managing the time is basically going to be important.
Managing time is very important. I think it's a difficult one as well, because I've got friends and family who are on the other side of it, because it is a work tool for me. I use it kind of to connect with people and things as well, but I know what I'm sharing. I use it for business, and I know what it's there for. For people who just use it to scroll and to kind of share things, there is a lot of there's a lot of pressure for them to keep up that that presence and want to get the likes, and it's another method for bullying, and they can get addicted to scrolling and things. And I see the flip side of that, because I know people who when it's not your job to kind of be posting and sharing messages and aligning with brands that you believe in, that's exciting for me. And I can see so it is just about knowing self what's the word?
Self-awareness?
Yeah, self-awareness, and being able to limit your time and usage of it, because it can be a positive tool for people who follow, who just follow people on it as well. I get inspiration from people I follow on Instagram, and messages that are shared. I'm not the only one sharing them. So
I want to talk about your business,
Yeah.
the direction it's going in, and also about your training and the things that you do on the daily routine.
Yeah,
I've got
would
an
love
episode called Routine of a Champion, and I just try and share. It sounds quite arrogant actually, a routine of a champion, because I share my sort of routine, but it's just something I labelled it as. Before I get into that though, I know you had some challenges, which you mentioned at the start, some mental and anxiety and let's say depression and stuff. And I feel that even though everyone's gone through it, even if it's a small part or a massive part. Myself and Sam from Imbos have had the pleasure of meeting Rio and Anton Ferdinand, really great guys. And as the world knows, he lost his wife and his mum to the horrendous disease, which is cancer. And of course, depression, anxiety, and fear, and everything else comes with that.
Yeah.
But he always says about focusing on his training. I mean, he was always fit, but now he's an absolute beast with the training he does. Other businesses, other directions he wants to go in, and sometimes if he said that if he didn't feel those things, then it wouldn't get you to think outside the box and then look at different strategies. How would you also echo that, or what's kind of your challenges that you went through, and how have you taken the positive from it?
Okay, so I mean, from the age of 14 to 19, I suffered critically from anorexia, and then the offsets of that were depression and anxiety, and I had osteoporosis and things from that. And I suppose, I mean, getting into that position, it was never intentional. I sort of lost myself. I didn't know how to reach out for help, and I was a young girl who got wrapped into negative habits and negative coping mechanisms, and I didn't know how to get myself out of that. And I think, through a couple of hospital admissions, my last one, I just got something clicked, and it is, people do say I clicked a switch, as in that is kind of a metaphor used for things like this, and I wanted to get better, and it was a big climb, and you have to kind of change your coping mechanisms and put your energy into other things, and it was through changing my environment and my circumstances and working on myself to get there. And I can honestly say, when I wake up in the morning, sometimes I have to pinch myself as to where I am now, because I could have never imagined it. I'm a completely different person, and that initial drive has driven me to really embrace what life has to offer and live it to the fullest, and say yes to things, and socialise, and really value my friends and family, because there was a point where I had absolutely no intention to see people, to want to socialise. It was kind of, it's all encompassing. You feel like you get put in this bubble and you can't get out, and all that matters is the things that you have in front of you, and making yourself feel numb almost.
Did you ever, because I don't know, and I'm honestly asking as just like almost innocently, but was there any drink, drugs, or anything that you went down, or junk food, or was it just having bad in the chat with yourself?
It wasn't only bad in a chat, I mean, I struggled. I was like, well, because of the anorexia, I had depression, and then for a long time I restricted being put on any medication. Then I got put on antidepressants, which I needed at the time, because scientifically my neurotransmitter levels, my serotonin levels were low. And that's just a counter effect, and it's a downward spiral.
So that gave you a boost.
Yeah, I did need that. It's then difficult to wean yourself off them, and you do have to be strong. And it is because then you start feeling, and it's because I suppose the anorexia was an escape from some of the emotions I did not want to face. It's fear and stress and going through difficult times, and it's learning different coping mechanisms to adapt to those feelings. And that's where my joy of exercise and being social and traveling and eating well to make me feel good came from. Because I've always been conscious about eating, but you get wrapped up as a young person into fad diets, and I took it to an extreme. I was never overweight. But I became emaciated, and I had to learn how to eat to make me feel good and not guilty and well and happy. And they say your second brain is your gut; it's in your stomach.
Definitely.
And so I really do feel that eating the right things, helps your mental health as well. And that was definitely a tool that helps keep me out of depression and manage situations. Which I'm kind of experiencing now as well through.
Yeah. Ruben Tabarez, who is part of our Mimboso company.
Yeah.
He's our wellness kind of nutritional expert, and I've done a podcast with him, and he talks about being at the word disease is dis-ease, and when you have certain foods, they have a certain frequency which is either out of tune or in line with your body.
Yeah.
So just like a fingerprint, we've all got our own frequency, and if you eat superfoods, they follow the line of your frequency and makes you feel good.
Yeah.
But if you eat junk foods, such as, let's say, KFC or McDonald's or something, even though they probably serve a purpose sometimes, but most of the time when you're eating that stuff, it just makes you short-term feel okay, but then afterwards you feel horrendous.
Big slump. Yeah.
So nutrition is got to be such an important point for life anyway, but overcoming things like depression and anxiety, because it's going to feed your soul basically.
No, exactly. I totally agree, and I know that, they're coming on board with it in the medical world a bit more. A lot of doctors are doing nutrition degrees as part of their courses and things like that, because I found, even through what I suffered from, when I went into hospital for an eating disorder, the diet we put on was really, really high sugar, high fat processed foods, and it scared the hell out of me. It was like, it wasn't,
poison.
It's not what I should be eating. And that's one thing that actually incentivized me to get out, to do this the way I want to do it, because otherwise I was going to have to, suffer through that long term. And that's where, my business idea, came from, and it's how I learned to eat well for my mind and body and feel well and embrace life through that, because I do feel it's a core element of life. And when you're eating well, you've got energy, you're more focused, you feel like exercising. Food brings people together as well as a social component, and that's why I think where POW came from, which I co-founded with my mum. So it stands for Power of Wellness, and we spread that through nutrition, and the main kind of area being the corporate world, because they don't have access or time or knowledge to eat well, and we make that, we enable them to do that through delivering our food, which is all designed by nutritionists and created by chefs, and then kind of slowly we're going more to home delivery and things as well, and I really believe in it, because I know firsthand how it helped me, and we see the impact it's making, and how eating well makes people feel well and work well. Yeah.
Ruben shares on the interview that if you're feeling depressed, you always will gravitate towards the junk foods, the chocolates, the sweets. sometimes something a bit harder, obviously the alcohol, and then even worse still, like really, really hard drugs. And as you just kind of said, and even kind of admitted, that most people, once they're in that spiral, it's very, very difficult to get out until you have the penny drop in moment or the light switch, and you can kind of break away from it. But you've got to persevere and stick to your plan.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
So you either go for junk food and you feel very, very guilty, or you don't eat at all, and you either are as dangerous as each other. And I think eating well is a very core component of that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I think there's a valuable lesson there as well. Anyone listening to this, if you're going through a very, very similar scenario as yourself, to remain almost positive that it's going to be light at the end of the tunnel. And as you've turned that kind of a painful scenario in your life, and now you're an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur. You're a business person,
and it does drive me. Yeah, it gets me up in the morning. It's
You must get up with a bounce in your step.
I do. Yes, it's. I mean, I love the diversity in it. I was never one to be destined sitting behind a desk in an office for someone else. As much as there's nothing wrong with that, it just wasn't me.
Yeah.
Since through kind of everything I've been through negatively, I've also since a young age, run market stalls and done ventures with my friends and run enterprise projects at school. I was always very into that. And both my parents, are entrepreneurs. And even though my father passed very recently, and that's a whole new method to get in through the grief, I'm trying to live through who he was and what he was proud of me for doing, and carry on with that drive and inherit his energy, because he would have speaking about something was never quite enough for him. He always did it, and I want to be a doer.
So he was full of action, and he went out there and achieved goals and done certain things. Before we talk a bit more about your business then, because I'm interested about the future of that, and why. I know why you come up with it, but some of the ideas you had behind your brand and stuff. Any advice that you would give to anyone whatsoever who is suffering from any kind of depression, anxiety? Is it okay? What can they do?
I think that, first and foremost, reach out and ask for help, and that can be the hardest. Don't try and hide it. And I know the initial thing would be to go down the negative coping mechanisms. But reach out to organisations and someone you can speak to. If family and friends will be too difficult, and share it, be open about it, be vulnerable. But I think for men they can sometimes be a bit more difficult than with women, but actually there's nothing wrong with it, and getting through and having that awareness around your feelings and how to deal with them just makes you stronger and more resilient, and you can accomplish amazing things from that and getting through it. So it's nothing to be ashamed of.
Good. Okay. And it's kind of like the most strongest thing you can do is be honest about it and be open and seek for help. I think it's actually quite, I don't want to say weak, because that sounds a bit disrespectful, but it's almost appears to be a bit weak if you don't go out there and ask for someone's help. And being a male, I know how I would have been a few years ago. I would have been like, no, I'll get through this, and be that alpha male type person. But actually it's better, and you overcome things quicker if you do it with a team. Yeah,
definitely.
Training.
Yes.
You keep yourself in very good nick. And that's got to be down to your nutrition, and you have to do that anyway because you've got a nutritional company. But training,
good image first game.
What's your daily kind of or weekly routine with training? What kind of stuff do you do?
I'm very mindful with my training. I think that I know that exercise is very important, and I take it seriously. I don't have a set routine with it. I listen to my body more so. I think especially with ladies as well, you go through different cycles throughout the month, but you're more tired, less tired. There's so many factors, and I've just learned through kind of pushing myself too much in the past to really listen to my body and kind of decipher then whether I want to do a yoga class or just go walking or go on a really long run or go to the gym and work out. But I'm very diverse in my exercises. I love kind of throwing it, working through different types. I used to do cross-country running, so running has always been like a really nice mind release for me.
Quite therapeutic.
Yeah, very. So listen to some like good playlists and pound the tracks. I like that. But I can also be very zen in a yoga and a hot yoga room. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever listen to like podcasts and runs and stuff?
I don't do podcasts on runs because I need the upbeat music vibe for
that.
me.
I get that.
But I know a lot of people who do listen to podcasts and runs.
Yeah.
But it's not. Yeah, I can't do that.
My mentor, a guy called Rob Moore, made most of his success initially through property, but then he's got the disruptive entrepreneur. And he says one of his best bits of advice is when you're training, compound that same time by also educating your mind.
It's very cool.
So podcasts, I mean, is it something that we're doing one now, but is it something that you're kind of into?
It is. I do like podcasts. I probably don't listen to enough, but I do try. I listen to Fern Cofton's Happy Hour. I listen to a couple of varied ones on entrepreneurial ones around sustainability and business. I try and then I like little pocket short bursts, like 10-minute motivational day starters. Yeah, I do like that, but I don't have a set one that I religiously listen to.
Okay, so with your business then, did you ever read any books, go to like networking events, or listen to a podcast which has kind of helped influence your business, or was it all from a gut feeling?
Gut feeling. Think about food, and that was a big part of it. But aside from that, networking, reading books, invaluable. Definitely. When you get into business and running a startup, I hate to say it because I don't like being that person, but sometimes I don't like saying I don't have the time. I don't prioritize the time always to read books. And actually, if I do, I like having one that is a bit of a mind release because, it could be working till midnight, at night with a startup, 2 a.m. It's a lot of work. But there are podcasts and books I've read that have influenced my work and business. And also, I'm always going to networking events. That's been very, very valuable. Watching, listening to people on panels, networking, talks. I do that a lot. Yeah. There's just surrounding yourself with people who are going through similar things as well. I think it's so important because you need people who lift you up and believe in it and know that slight, hint of craziness that you need to start your own business, because a lot of people don't do that. Don't know that.
Yeah. Well, the saying is you are what you eat. The other thing is true is you become your surroundings. So your peer group or the people that you're around the most, they start rubbing off, and that could be a good or a bad thing, because if you're around the wrong people, you're going to probably end up like them. If you're around the best people that pull you up, going back to my friend Ozzy, who's got private jet, your yacht and all these properties, is a right lovely down to earth guy. He will start rubbing off on me in a very, very good way because I just listen to a lot of things he says. So the networking, there's another cliche saying your net worth is determined by your network. Do you think that's quite a true saying?
I think it can be, yes. I definitely have a lot of different friend pockets that I use kind of exercise my different personalities. Okay. For instance, like I need my core old friends, and then I have people who enhance my creativity and my arty nature, and then I have even people in the health and fitness world. So there's different people who utilize my different personalities, but I do, to a certain extent, believe in that. But I'm also someone who will go into a room and I know who I gel with and who I don't, and I'm not going to invest the time with people who don't give it back. Because life's too short.
Of course. It's not rehearsal, it's one shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Your business then, so the goal for it, let's just say 5-10 years from now, where do you see yourself and the business going?
Okay, 5-10 years is a difficult one. At the moment we want to grow it to be a lifestyle brand. Kind of like future goals, we're wanting to, we're impacting the corporate world at the moment mainly. We want to build more of a presence and for people to be able to order it from home and have meal plans and, it be accessible in shops. that's our goal. We really feel that we want to make a difference through the food that we're serving and the messages that we put out. And kind of that will be 2-3 year plan. Yeah. Good
stuff. What I liked about what you said is it's not just a consumable product where you're buying it and eating it, but there's an educational side to it. Most people, including me, in the last couple of years, I mean, I'm testing something at the moment, which is I haven't eaten meat this year so far.
Oh wow, well done.
I've been doing fish still, but mostly vegetarian stuff. So most days it would be vegetables and then some fish sometimes. I have to say I do feel great, but I don't know whether that's a placebo effect. But I think it's important to test these things to see how your body adapts and changes.
Very much so, yeah.
And I think with what you're doing and trying to do or will achieve is you are educating people on like the benefits of certain foods and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's the main one of the main things behind it. And then our food is enriched with additional superfoods and it being nutritionally balanced. So I think a lot of people who go who transition into veganism or being a vegetarian, you're not getting a lot of the vitamins and the amino acids that you need. And also with synergy food, you need to be eating certain food groups together to absorb the nutrients properly, otherwise you're not absorbing them. So we take into account all of this, which is very valuable. Do
you know what? Like, because you're speaking our language here, I mean, and you're speaking. I mean, this can go on for ages, but because Ruben talks about it a lot. Like I'm not trying to knock these companies because they're a business and they're there to make money and stuff. But certain vitamin companies, what most people don't know, it might say vitamin C on it or something like that, but really your body's not absorbing it because it's not compatible with the amino acids in your body, and it's just flushing through you. And it's, in a way, it's a bit of a con because they've not been educated. They've just been missold with what it says on the front, and they're convincing themselves it's good, but it's not. It's not. And what you just said, you need one element with another element in order to. I mean, Ruben. I remember Ruben saying one thing to me. He said, "When you peel an orange, eat the white bit." And I said, "What? I hate that." He said, "No, that's called pith." And pith is high in vitamin P. And I said, okay, what's vitamin P? I've never heard of that. He said, what the property, the importance of vitamin P, it allows you to absorb more vitamin C. So the more of the P that you eat from pith, the more you can absorb the vitamin C, which is obviously very, very healthy. And that one little soundbite I got from him, it stuck me for...
It does. And people love this information. I mean, that's why we do, when we take on a new client, we give them a workshop to try and it's like a lunchtime chat with some just foundation bite-sized knowledge, to try and just people love being educated, and it can sometimes go into too much detail, but it's so valuable to take on into your kind of everyday life. A lot of people would cut out fats when they're eating, and it's so important. If you're not eating fats when you're eating carbohydrates, you don't absorb any A, E, D, and K, and which are like it's very important. People just they're sold these fad diets and the slimming teas and all of these things, and it's quite dangerous and sad.
It's the misconception of what fat is and how it's utilised by the body. They just affiliate fat with a bad waistline, and that is their connection. But actually, when you start thinking about the brain, the nerves, the signals that your body needs to transmit in order to be healthy, it all comes through a lot of the fats and stuff. So Ruben talks about putting oils on your food. That's obviously a very, very good way of
and we use it. I mean we use kind of we're very careful about the oils we use, so we're using flax and avocado and coconut and MCT oil, so it's very important.
I have all the time in my my juices and stuff, flaxseed, chia seeds,
so
hemp, and all kinds of different stuff. And it definitely does make you feel a lot more alert. So just to round this off then, so you've obviously got your company. You're going through some changes with that. Are you getting investment on board, or what are you doing?
We're going for investment. I mean, at the moment we're wanting to grow organically, more so we're just trying to build more sales.
Okay.
Get more sales in, refine and streamline our website, and just create some more awareness around it and get some collaborations on board. I mean, there's always going to be struggles with a startup because you can either get investment in and grow too fast, and then you lose the scale up, system. And we want to like really get that on, right, because it's a like an interesting time with. Yeah. You've got to kind of manage the scale up and acknowledge what happens on the really busy days and where things slip and where things are good and whether we need to outsource certain logistics and every day's new lessons.
Good stuff. And if people are interested to find a bit more about that or buying any of the products, where can they find it?
Okay, so there's powfood.co.uk, which is the main website, and then my Instagram is English_Ems, and then you can click through to the POW Instagram. And
did you come up with that name, or did they give it to you when you was on the show?
So I was the only English girl on the show. It's an American show. So I was known as English Emily and English Rose, etc. I was blonde on the show as well, so I was like a little English blonde girl. I think I made it English Ems, and then when I became verified, you can't change the name. So I would have made it Emily, my full name, whatever it is. But I can't change it, so I'm stuck with English Ems, and a lot of people just go, it's English Ems.
I literally called you, I think yesterday, the day before, and I went, Ems, how are you? I just know you as English Ems. I was like, what am I doing, you prat? But I think it's cool. So my catchphrase at the end is, be happy, never content. I explain it basically. I think happiness is a state of mind. I know you're not always happy. I think being fearful, anxiety serves people because it makes you grow, and it actually, you start noticing other things that you wouldn't have noticed if you were just happy 24/7. But I think generally speaking, you could be happy. Never content means that you're pursuing something, because rather like a goal is cool, but it's only cool for a certain amount of time. Whether that's a new car, whether that's going to a new destination, read a new book, learn a new language, you get that euphoria moment for a short space of time. Yeah. The real happiness is the pursuit.
Yes.
So never content means pursue something all the time.
I like that.
When I say to you, be happy, never content, what's your interpretation of that?
I'd say, I see happiness as an emotion that can be misused a lot nowadays. When people go, I'm not happy, I'm down, I'm this, I'm that. I'd say that importantly, it's feeling fulfilled in certain areas, and that goes back to kind of never content. I think the act of like pursuing things and always having it is always about the journey to the goal that is important. You're right there as well. I believe in that. And I think that your life changes, circumstance change, your environment changes, and so to be fulfilled, you have to change, and it's that constant changing and developing to keep up with that. That's how I would see it.
Good stuff. We're at the curtain in the screening room, so I know there's something else happening here fairly soon. So thank you for your time again.
You're welcome.
Nice one.
Thank you.
And be happy, never content. Cheers.